Hey everybody and welcome. Today we are diving deep into what is, for my money, one of the absolute best episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Tapestry. It's an incredible character study, a really thought-provoking story, and just pure classic Trek. So let's beam in and take a look at how this masterpiece actually got made. I mean, wow, that one line pretty much sums up the entire episode, doesn't it? It's the huge realization that Captain Picard comes to after he gets a chance to go back and change his past. This idea is our starting point today, the very foundation the whole story is built on. So, how in the world did the writers even come up with such a powerful moment? Well, believe it or not, it all started with a story you'd probably recognize. Think Ghosts of Christmas Past, but with Q. So let's look at how that very first spark of an idea got hammered into the incredible episode that we all know and love. The first draft, the initial idea from writer Ronald D. Moore, was literally a Star Trek version of A Christmas Carol. They even called it a Q Carol. The plan was to have Q show up and act as the three ghosts, taking Picard on a tour of all his different life regrets. But, and this is a huge but, executive producer Michael Piller stepped in with a game-changing note. He said, hey, instead of covering all these different regrets, what if we just zero in on one single life-altering moment? And man, was that the right call. That focus is exactly what gives the episode its incredible punch. Okay, get this. This is one of those you can't make this stuff up Hollywood stories. The writers were using this concept of Picard meeting Q in this stark, white sort of afterlife space, but no one could remember who first came up with it. Well, after the episode airs, they get a call. Turns out a fan had sent in a spec script with the exact same concept. Just a wild coincidence. And you got to give the producers credit. They did the classy thing. They looked into it, realized it was just a crazy case of great minds thinking alike, and they paid the guy for his contribution. How cool is that? Speaking of big changes, let's talk about the title. It wasn't always called Tapestry. The working title was, you guessed it, a Q Carol. And once again, it was Michael Piller who stepped in and suggested, what about Tapestry? And it's just perfect, right? It captures the whole point of the episode. The idea that your life is this giant, complicated tapestry, and if you go back and pull out one single thread, even a bad one, the whole thing can completely unravel. Alright, so the script is solid. Now comes the really hard part, actually making the thing. Let's get into the production and some of the really fascinating choices they had to make on set to bring this story to life. This is what I absolutely love about TNG. This is just brilliant long-term storytelling. Think all the way back 4 years earlier to season 2. There's this tiny, almost throwaway moment where Picard tells Wesley he has an artificial heart because he got stabbed by a Nausican in a bar fight. Just a single line. And the writers tucked that detail away, remembered it, and built this entire, deeply meaningful episode around it. That's some next-level planning. So they had a big decision to make. Who plays young Picard? Do you try to cast a new actor? Nope. They went with this really cool, kind of surreal idea of just having Patrick Stewart, who was 52 at the time, play his own 21-year-old self. It's very Quantum Leap, right? We, the audience, see the older Picard, but everyone else in the story just sees him as a young cadet. And it's such a smart move because it keeps us right there with him, inside his head, seeing everything through his much older, much wiser eyes. Here's a little bit of on-set trivia for you. The actress playing Picard's friend Marta, JC Brandy, was actually just 17 years old when they filmed this, and Patrick Stewart was 52. So you can imagine, he was apparently a little concerned about that 35-year age gap, especially since their characters had this romantic subplot. But honestly, they were both total pros, and you completely buy their deep connection on screen. It really works. Okay, pop quiz time. What on earth could a 24th century sci-fi show possibly have in common with a giant 1956 biblical epic? The answer is probably not what you're thinking. It's the props. Seriously. To keep the budget down, the prop department just went digging through the massive Paramount storage vaults. And a lot of the stuff you see in that bar at Starbase Earhart, the cups, the tableware, even the old coins, they weren't made for Star Trek. They were leftovers from the 1956 movie The Ten Commandments. You just gotta love that old school TV making ingenuity. So we've seen how it was made. But why is it so good? why are we still talking about this episode all these years later? Let's break down the legacy and the real impact it's had. For the writer, Ronald D. Moore, this episode was way more than just another script. It was personal. He said many times that this is the one he's most proud of, because he put so much of himself into it. He truly believed in its central message, that the big mistakes you make when you're young, they're not things you should want to erase. They are the exact stepping stones that build you into the person you become. And I think you can really feel that honesty when you watch it. Here's a real deep cut fact for all the superfans out there. Out of all 178 episodes of The Next Generation, guess how many don't have a star date? Just 5. And yep, Tapestry's one of them. And that's not an accident. It's the show's way of telling us this isn't a standard Starfleet mission log. This is something different. It's a timeless fable, a character story that exists outside the normal flow of time. Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all, the one the episode just leaves hanging right there in the air. So what do you think? Did Q actually send Picard back in time, messing with the timeline itself? Or was the entire thing just a dream? A profound Q-inspired hallucination flashing before his eyes as he lay dying on that medical bed? And here is the absolute genius of it. The episode never tells us. It's designed to leave you wondering, right alongside Picard. In the end, it forces you to realize that it doesn't actually matter if it was real or not. The lesson is what matters. The understanding that our flaws, our mistakes, our regrets, they are all threads in the tapestry of who we are. And without them, we wouldn't be us at all.